Alright class, today what we're going to be looking at is how to write the equation of a quadratic function from a graph or some characteristics that are given to you on a graph. This will go along with the assignment we're going to be working on in class tomorrow, so you'll be really well prepared for that if you can pay attention to these, take some notes, and understand it. I'm going to have an ice cold Coke to drink while I do this, so when Coke comes calling and this hits 1,000,000 web hits, I'm sure that they'll want to give me money. Actually, I was just about to cough. So anyway, what we've got here is I've provided a graph for you. The book did, and I went through one of their questions, and they have, you can tell this is supposed to be a parabola, however my drawing is not that great, obviously. The vertex is shown, and that's going to be a crucial thing, that you'll have to have that vertex in order to write something in vertex form. There are other ways, but they're long and involved. So what we're going to be focused on is if you had the vertex and some other point, can you go ahead and write this equation? They've also given us, in this case, the x-intercepts. They don't have to give you x-intercepts. It can be any other point that's on the graph besides the vertex that you have to have. So let's keep in mind that when you look at the vertex form, you've already been dealing with this, and here's what it looks like when we graph it. You had f of x equals a x minus h squared plus k, and that's standard form for, or that's vertex form for a parabola. Your book calls it standard form once again, but everybody else would call that vertex form, so we're going to go with that. We know what to do with the vertex because over here I'm going to go ahead and label on my graph what I'm looking at here. This is h and k. And what you're going to have to do now is make a decision because they've given us a couple of options. You can either use -3, 0 for an x and a y value because they are an x and a y value on your graph, or you can use 1 and 0 for the same thing. I would rather use the positive numbers, so I'm going to use 1 and 0 as my x and y value. We don't really have an x, we have an f of x, so I'm going to label that as we put it in. This is x, this is going to be f of x. I should call it f of 1, but we're going to plug it in where I have an f of x and do substitution there. So let's fill in everything we do know, and you're going to notice that we obviously have something missing when we do that, but f of x is 0 when x is 1, that is. I don't know a, so I'm going to leave that as a. It's going to be the last thing I have to solve to figure out how steep are they making this thing. X, we said we're going to use a 1, minus 1, minus a -1, which is going to make this like a plus sign in there. Then k, the y value of the vertex is k, and you can see that we've labeled everything from the graph over here straight to this, and we'll be able to see what's going on. So now I'm going to go ahead and solve this for a and see what we can come up with to get our final answer. It's going to be a. This is going to be 2 squared, so this is a times 4 plus 4. Let's look at what we'd have to do. Following the order of operations, we do -4 equals 4a, and when we divide by 4, we're going to get a equals -1. Now what we do is we bring it back together here. We want to have our equation set up at the end so it looks like a function. Right now it doesn't look like a function. I've just got a little piece of the function there. So in vertex form, the graph that we started with could look like this. F of x again equals -1, or negative. If you don't want to put the 1, it's okay. X plus 1 squared minus a -1. That's why it's plus 1 right there. Then plus 4. And this would be the standard form for that graph right there. I've said standard again, but we're going to call that vertex form. So you can see right here, here's the -1 because it's subtracted. Here's the positive 4. And here's the a value that we solved for to begin with. So we come up with our equation for that vertex form. On the next one, you're going to see that we don't even have to have a graph to do that. So when I scroll down here, you're going to be able to tell that this is what we're looking at. You'll notice on this particular equation, you've been given the vertex form, or you've been given the vertex, and you've been given a point that's on the graph. So let's go ahead and label what we know about these because that's what's going to make it easiest to do. There's h and k, x and y. Now we don't have a choice. It's the only point they've given us. So we'll fill in what we know. F of x equals a, x minus h squared plus k. So let's go ahead and put it in. F of x, which we're going to take the place of y, is 9. A, don't know. That's going to be the last thing we find again. X is 0 in this case, minus a -2. Then plus 5 at the end. This one might be a little bit different. I don't know. If we subtract a 5, we're going to have 4 equals, and this one here is going to be 2 squared, which is going to be 4a. So on this example, we end up with having a equals 1. Well, that's fine. Once we know that a is 1, we can bring it all back together and say if it's a 1, we don't really have to put that here, so we'll not worry about that. X plus 2 squared plus 5. So those were a couple of easy examples because we got an answer like -1 or +1, but what if it's going to be something totally different? So I'm going to come up with one here, and I haven't done this one ahead of time, so I'm going to be in the same place as you, and we're going to say, what if this was our vertex? We'll go with 2, 7. I don't know what that's going to look like. If I know it's going to go through, let's just give it a point that says it goes through 4, 8. We'll see what happens then. I know that it's not going to be 1 or -1 based on just what I did there, but here's what I'm going to come up with. F of x is 8 equals a, which I don't know again, x minus h squared plus k. You notice I wrote the numbers as I said that. So when we subtract these things, we're going to have 8 minus 7, which is going to equal 1. We're going to have this is going to be 4 minus 2 is 2, but squared is 4, so we're going to get 4a. Can't avoid 4's too well today. When I divide that, I get a 1/4, and we've looked at how that's going to compress something vertically, and it's still going to do the same thing here. So this would be, instead of having a parabola of this shape, it's going to be flatter on the sides. It's going to increase at a slower rate as it moves away from the vertex in this case. But it is going to go upward because it's a positive 1/4. So let's go ahead and come up with the actual function for this one. F of x equals 1/4. We've got x minus 2 squared plus 7. And that should be the vertex form for that has these characteristics. No other equation no other vertex form would get through that point and have that vertex. So hope you learned from this video. Watch it again if you need to, but I think that you should be on the right track for class tomorrow if you do that.